Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I don't like saying that we live in a man's world. As somebody who is conscious of the effect that rhetoric has on the mind, maxims like this don't express the whole truth and distract us from a more in-depth conversation we could be having. I do not think it's a man's world at all, but I do believe that society is built on masculine principles. As far as I see it, society is mostly built on the value of progress, efficiency, and linear chronological movement. And I would say that that's a good thing, that is good to maintain the mass of society, to keep us from plummeting into absolute chaos and disorder. However, I don't think that that is always the best structure for happiness and fulfillment. For the individualists, for the creatives, for the outcasts, I would say even maybe that the opposite, the complete opposite of that structure is far more helpful. A structure maybe where female principles are dominant. Principles like patience, refinement, and spontaneity. However, in this masculine-dominated society, we have been told that structure and logic are the keys for a happy and healthy life, while emotion and ambiguity steers us towards the course of chaos. There definitely can be truth to this, but its validity does not include the individual, it doesn't include the person living on the fringes. I would even say that the masses really do thrive on this kind of lifestyle. And I would advise that those included follow the rules, worship ambition, and hustle while you're still young. But I would never recommend that for somebody who I know is unusual in their tastes and lifestyle. In fact, I would consider it a disservice to them to do that. For the person who is the exception, or maybe the anomaly, I should call them, telling them to just double down and adhere to masculine principles could actually create detours for them. It could actually change them for the worse. Now, I really need to make a disclaimer here because all this talk kind of sounds like masculine bad and feminine good. This has absolutely nothing to do with the sexes. It has nothing to do with demonizing the masculine or men. I'm talking about pulls of energy here. I simply want to dispel with the taboos of feminine governed decision making for the people that have absolutely no interest in participating in general society. I just want you all to feel good about your choices and your thoughts, even when they're frowned upon by the masses. Because as an individual, as somebody who lives on the fringes of society, you shouldn't be concerned with what they think. Now, the feminine principles I mentioned are only 3 amidst an innumerable amount of them. And I don't want to focus on them specifically. I mentioned them just kind of as an anchor point. And I also brought them up because of their relationship to time. And time is what we're really going to be talking about here. In my opinion, in my experience, what I've seen with my own eyes, time, fixation, obsession with time causes problems that erode the soul, that prohibit a person from developing on their own in a proper way. In creative endeavors as well as spiritual ones, it causes unhealthy amounts of stress, produces manifestations, pieces of artwork, ideas that are half-ripe. It instills fear, and it makes it almost impossible to achieve a state of sublime or bliss. Patience, refinement, and spontaneity are all principles that ignore time, while the other 3, the masculine opposites I mentioned, progress, efficiency, and linear thinking, all rely on time. Just to say what I mean, patience is waiting for the right moment to act. You've probably heard me call this passivity before. Almost nobody has patience. Patience can deal with many things. It can deal with attention span. It can deal with starting something when you are not properly educated or you're not mentally mature for a certain situation. Patience has a lot to do with just waiting and listening to your intuition, listening to your gut, knowing when to save your energy and knowing when to exert it. Refinement is taking an uncertain amount of time for something to develop. This is what people often do when they're working on a project. And I see people all the time worrying so much about a deadline for something, and they're not really allowing the correct or right or natural amount of time for that project to get done or for their idea to develop. And the thing is, there is no time frame for anything to develop when it comes to creativity or for an idea to come to light. And you just have to know when it's done, when it's time to start, pick it back up again, whatever it may be. And spontaneity is allowing for events in your life to occur outside of time frames. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people, including myself, they will not surrender themselves to a moment because it's not aligning with their schedule. It's not aligning with this time frame that they have in their head. It's not aligning with what is appropriate. They will not take a golden opportunity because to them it just doesn't fit into this unnatural structure that they've included in their life. Feminine principles obey the very loose ties of the universe and fate. They support the process of letting go, of release, of letting things take their course, of a natural progression. Masculine principles will force this progression until it culminates in something artificial and lifeless. And I think it's actually funny that I say it like that because think of AI. I think that's actually a perfect kind of symbol of this obsession with progress, this obsession with continuing to make something new and something better. The feminine knows that all of the scattered pieces of our lives will come together on their own. They don't need goading. It knows that some of the answers to the questions that we ask cannot be retrieved. We must make peace with the unknown and wait for what it has in store for us when the time comes. You cannot force a flower to bloom. It's really that simple. To keep your dignity as an individual in society, as impossible as it may seem, you need to release yourself from the binding of time. Know that as long as you follow your gut and whatever brings you incomprehensible joy, everything will play out in the way that it was intended for you. It really saddens me to see people with such potential, such creativity and beauty in their mind, hastened and anxious from something as innocuous as hands on the clock. I mean, it really reminds me of cattle getting prodded off to slaughter. I've seen people crushed under the weight of deadlines, producing work that they are ashamed of. I've seen people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars on an education they're not even sure they want. People marrying and divorcing simply because they couldn't stand loneliness or because they simply felt they had to. I've seen people look at the exit door of a restaurant when their hostess just sat them down at the table. I've seen others worry about how society views them so much that they never ever take a moment, take the time to just sit and ask themselves what they really want. I always see them rushing, running, blinded. It's always on to the next thing. There's never just enough time to just live in the moment. The worst crimes are the ones that are committed in the name of time, and they are always self-inflicted. I say to the individuals, to the outcasts, to the anomalies, who gives a shit about time? Who cares if you were late to the job that you hate? If you haven't made a piece of artwork in 6 months? If it took you 40 years to find your calling? If you wanted to travel before you went to college? Or if you didn't want to go to college at all? If it took Da Vinci decades to paint the Mona Lisa's lips? And I say, it doesn't matter if you don't have enough money to buy a house, when you can smell the dew on freshly cut grass in the morning. It doesn't matter if it took you years to write one lyric of a song when the man that plays tenor sax in the subway every day brings tears to your eyes. It's about priorities. It's about those little things that make you happy and about paying attention to them. What is it anyone's business how you define happiness, satisfaction, fulfillment? If you achieve but one thing in your life that brings you solace and peace, it doesn't matter how long it took you to get there. The sublime isn't achieved by efficiency. Divinity cannot be contained in measurements of matter, like mathematicians will have you believe. The most incredible moments in your life, if you've ever noticed, are when you lose track of time, when time becomes suspended and you forget where you are. Isn't that what being in love with somebody does? What a spectacular movie does? What the feeling of clay on the potter's wheel does? The view of a mountain range, the smell of coffee in the morning? Embracing the feminine rejection of time is just another way to say what I have said on this channel forever. You need to eject yourself from the confines of society, from their rules, their organization, their paradigms. Because one of these days, you'll notice They are just simply feeble attempts at trying to contain the unknown, to configure the shapeless. All attempts at structure, whether it's science, mathematics, or architecture, are just done to mitigate fear of the unknown. The fear that absolutely nobody has any clue what's going on. Thank you all for watching this video. This is definitely just as much of a reminder to me as it is for you guys. Any video that I do is kind of trying to teach myself and to remind myself of these things. And in a way, I'd like to share that with you guys too. All right, thanks for watching another one of my videos. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to me, all of my lovely little subscribers. Thank you for clicking on this video when you saw the thumbnail. I appreciate that. Please do not forget to like and subscribe, share if you want. Please comment. I'll get to the comments eventually. And I will see you guys next week.